So, it's like 11:50 the Wednesday before this is going out, so I think I'm really killing it on getting these videos out in a timely manner. Again, still down here, still working every day, and still very stressed about life. So, we're gonna just do another update video with a slight focus, the tiniest of focus, the tiniest forward focus you can find, because this week I've gotten back into Glee. A lot of my For You page on TikTok, as most of my life is dictated by my For You page on TikTok, most of my For You page is Glee. It's like some funny things, mostly One Direction, and like a fourth Glee. And it's my favorite thing ever. I love my For You page. TikTok really knows me so well, and it's my favorite social media right now. But because of that, I was like, why don't I just get into Glee? But I was like, I don't want to get into like all of Glee, so I just went to like the IMDb and watched like the 10 highest rated episodes, because I was like, that's probably just all I need right now. It's just like the best of Glee, because I don't want like those bad episodes in like season 6 and whatever, because I don't need to get back into that. But I love Glee, and so much of like the current fandom around Glee is talking about how bad it was. And like, yes, was it the best show? No. But I cannot look you in the eye and like say I've rewatched Glee and I don't find joy from it. It brings me so much joy to watch Glee. Glee is just so good. All their music still goes hard, and there are still so many good moments in the show that just make you feel wonderful. Like, I watched the episode where they all win nationals and I just like cried because I was just so happy for them. I was on the edge of my seat the whole episode despite knowing exactly what was going to happen. It fills you with all that anxious energy because you're just like, I want them to win. I want them to win so bad. And you just like want that for them because you're in it and you feel it, even though you're like, I know that they win. That's what Glee does. Because Glee, at the end of the day, is a pretty good show. Like, I know that there are so many awful parts to it. Mr. Shu should have been fired season 1. Awful, horrible teacher. There's so many times where they talk about, like, you are the Glee Club and you're such a good teacher, you mean so much to us, and I'm like, but was he though? I think he was a very bad teacher. And he overstepped the line so many times. But he's Mr. Shu and we all love him, despite him being very weird and not understanding that he is a teacher and they're students. Why was his best friend Finn a high schooler? Why did he have no friends his age? That's suspicious. I've loved Glee for a very long time. I feel like I've talked about it sporadically throughout the many videos I made on this channel. I started watching it. It was just right around when Corey Monteith died, because that's the news that really got me into Glee. I technically first got into Glee because my friend was really into Glee, and she showed me Pretty Unpretty, and that song, honestly beautiful. So that was my first sort of intro to Glee, but I didn't know that it was part of like a bigger show. But then I didn't start watching the show until like 2013-ish, when Corey Monteith died, and that's when I finally got Netflix. So I was able to watch it. So I like, in like truly one night, because I started watching it with one of my friends and we like got into like the first season together, and she was like, okay, don't watch it without me, and I was like, I won't. But then the second she left, I truly just binged like 2 seasons, did not sleep, went to school, dead. But it was worth it because it was Glee. And this show just truly meant so much to me. This show is what put the delusions into my head that I could go and become a famous actor. Because everyone on this show had those delusions. They were like, we can do it. And then they all did. Insane. It made me believe that I could be a performer. But this is truly what got me into performing. Because I was like, oh my god, Glee, it's wonderful, and it's filled with so many like real friends that you're gonna make, and it's all in high school. It romanticized the high school experience for me is what it did. And so when I went to high school, I was like, oh my god, I need to try out for my drama program and be a part of all this. And it was nothing like Glee. Everyone there was awful, and I hated every single one of them, and every second that I was there, it was awful. Because they had none of the motivation of any of these kids. I don't know where all that came from. Like, because we did the thing that Glee did, where we're like, we don't have enough people. We need to pull people from all these departments to get everybody to band together so that we could get a bunch of different people in the audience to watch the shows. But all those people did not care about being in in these productions, so they never showed up for a rehearsal and they never tried when they were on stage. These people in Glee, they tried. They were like fighting each other over. Remember Nationals when like Sam and Puck were about to throw hands because Puck like was not there rehearsing? Like they all cared. Like, I guess that's like sort of the whole point, is that like they had Mr. Shu to be a good teacher to like motivate them to care about this, but like this did not happen at my high school. And it very highly disappointed me, and that's why I left after 2 years. I was like, I'm good, thank you, goodbye. So Glee filled my head with lies, but I still love it. And I still love looking back on it because it was such a good show. There are so many moments that I wish were done better, obviously. And for so long now, I've wanted to do like I rewrite Glee because I have so many ideas of like how much better it could have been if there was like some just sort of foresight, if they like thought ahead a little bit about where the storyline was gonna go, so that something sort of just like made sense. Like Puck and Quinn, wonderfully perfect relationship, zero development, zero story. They got dust because everything was just like all about Rachel. It was all about Rachel and all about the people Rachel was fighting with, which was like usually Kurt and Santana, sometimes Mercedes in the beginning, but then she left real quick because amazing. Queen, Amber Riley, just going on to bigger and better things. What an icon. But I love Glee, and I don't care how many people want to say it's stupid. It still means so much to my stupid heart. Glee can still fuck me up, you know? It could be... When did Glee end? 2016? It could be 4 years since the last time I watched a proper Glee episode. But I will still sob hearing them sing tongue-tied and seeing the school not pelt them with slushies. It hits different. But in my mind, there should not have been any episodes after season 3. Season 3 was the perfect finale. I think truly that they meant to like end it at season 3 because that's truly what it feels like. There should not have been a season 4. Season 3 was a perfect ending. They won nationals and everyone graduated. The end! It was perfect. But then they were like, no, we have to go to New York. Then we have to follow all these people to New York. And then because we still have to have a reason to go back to the school despite there just being so many sophomores for some reason. Or so many, like, then sophomores that became seniors. Like Tina, Sam, Blaine, Artie, Brittany, even though she wasn't really, she just sort of flunked. But, like, that crew, we could have just had them. And we could have just had some fake background extras. Because they have a lot of those. When, like, you're seeing, like, the big group performances that they do at, like, their competitions, there are just random people dancing with them in the background to, like, fill out the group. And I'm like, who the fuck is that? Why have we never seen who that is? And it's just a random background extra, but I'm also like, why couldn't we have just done that? Why did we need to have Ryder and Jake and Kitty and Marley and Unique? Unique, I love her. What a good character. But we didn't need that squad. We didn't need that third generation Glee. Like, I was already sort of like, did we need a second generation with like Sam and Blaine and Sugar and Joe and Rory? Like, did we need them in the second generation? I would argue a little bit, just because, like, I love Sam and Blaine so much, but I'm also just like, we had so many other characters that you have just developed. Like, you could have just figured out Quinn, who didn't really get a storyline. You could have developed Artie a bit more, or Mike, or like Tina, or like, even though Tina did get sort of her moment in season 5, but like, I feel like they just had so many characters already in season 1 that they didn't need to bring in a second generation. If anything, they should have brought in that second generation in season 4. But then that would have been a whole thing. We would have waited so long to get Sam and Blaine in the story, and I love them so much, and I'm so glad that they were there. But like, I already am just sort of on the fence about season 2, the second generation Glee cast being already a thing, that I'm so against the third generation Glee cast. Don't even fucking get me started on the fourth generation. Everyone from season 6 is canceled. I don't even like to think that season 6 existed. It was so bad. We didn't need any of those people. Spencer, Billie Eilish's brother, the incest twins, the girl who sang Tightrope, that 12-year-old boy. We didn't need any of them. Literally any of them. We didn't need any of them. They were stupid and they did not need to be in the show. But isn't it so crazy that the girl incest twin ended up being Zoe in Waving Through a Window, the musical? Isn't that crazy? Good for her. I love the score to that musical. Hate the book. I also plan to make a not a musical. I do plan to make a musical, but that's not what I'm talking about. I do plan to make a video about how much I hate that musical. But again, I don't have time. I'm working a lot. But, what was I saying? Oh, yes. Season 6. That fourth generation Glee cast, so bad. We didn't need a single one of them. They added nothing to the story. They were just basically what they should have done, really, with the third generation, because the third generation was just the first generation, but in different skin. Ryder was just a new Finn, Jake was just a new Puck, Marley was just a new Rachel, Katie was just a new Quinn. That's all that they were. And then Unique was like a new Kurt, Mercedes. That was it. That's all that they were. They were not their own people. They were not different people than like what they already had. They were just the same, but still in high school, so that they could have a reason to still write these sort of characters in a high school setting. But then they like were like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do that because nobody liked them, and then they kicked them out in season 5, and then they kicked them out in season 6 because like they all got shipped off to like boarding school or something. Because Sue was like, no, you're gone. That was a weird storyline, but then they brought in a whole bunch of new kids that they really should have brought in at the beginning to like have actual new characters. But that 12-year-old boy did not need to be there at all. He added nothing. I don't get why they did that. Why they were like, yes. I get it's like a satire or whatever, but that just like, I don't understand the purpose. Like, sure, it's like weird that at McKinley High there's a 12-year-old kid, but like, what does that add past the joke of him being a child? Like, I didn't see anything. That girl, still don't really remember her name. The girl who sang Tightrope that couldn't be a part of the Warblers. She was interesting. She was like an actual fun character. I don't remember anything about her outside of that. But she was cool. I felt like she had potential. But they didn't give her anything because they gave her like half of one season. Season 6 was bad. We didn't need a season 6. I feel very strongly about that. I just really feel like they should have just taken the first generation of the Glee kids and just developed them. Just develop them a little bit more. Because Santana, great development. Brittany got a little bit of development. She was the most out there character, but I still love her for that. Quinn got basically nothing. All the guys basically got nothing except for like Finn and Kurt. Puck was just sort of like, I'm a bad guy, and oh, I guess I shouldn't be bad anymore, never mind. That was it. And Mike didn't really have anything besides, I'm a good dancer, and I'm a good dancer, and I'm Asian, and I'm a good dancer. And that was all. That was his whole personality. Matt? Who remembers Matt? Matt got less than dust. He didn't even get air. He got nothing. Matt was truly just filler for the first season, and then they just like were like, oh, we don't need him. And then he left. He did come back in the later seasons, though, as like sort of like a callback to Matt, because everyone was like, what happened to Matt? But you could have just brought back Matt and like developed his character. That's my least favorite thing that shows do, that like media does when it like develops or it gets new installments, is that instead of just developing the characters you've already introduced, you just bring in more characters that you then have to develop. I'm like, why not just take the characters you already have? Like, you can just take the same personalities of the characters that you were going to write and just put them into this character, because they're just sort of a shell right now. You can just develop the people you already have. Like, that's what they did in High School Musical 3. Instead of, like, developing the tertiary characters like Martha, Jason, Zeke, they bring in all these new bitches. And I'm like, why? Why? You didn't need to do that. You could have just taken what you already had. You don't need more. It's my least favorite thing. So in my heart, I would rewrite Glee so that it just focuses more on the main cast, because as seen by season 4 onward, people only really cared about the first generation Glee kids. All the people who were like just in New York, that's all we really cared about, because those are the people who got development. Maybe if they developed the other characters a little bit more, we would care about them. But like, also they just didn't really give the third generation Glee kids any good storylines. Like, it was just a Ryder, Jake, Marley love triangle for the whole season. And even when you thought it was finished and they were like, we're cool, it just kept going. And then there was Katie just sort of being mean until she was like, I shouldn't be mean anymore, which was all Quinn's development. That was it. Even less than Quinn's development, because at least Quinn got to like have a baby and have like a personal like crisis and like stand up to the people who like control their life. Like Quinn got like good things. Kitty got nothing. Unique didn't really get anything either. Like she got the whole thing of like accepting herself, but then she also like catfish Ryder, and that was like a really big deal. And then that sort of just like defined that whole arc for some reason. I just wish that Glee was written just a bit better. Because I feel like at least by season 3 they should have been like, oh, we're getting renewed. Maybe we should think of like the direction that this wants to go into in case we get renewed again. Like I feel like they wrote season to season and they didn't write thinking that there was going to be anything past that. And I get that you want to like have a way to like end it if you don't get renewed so that you don't just have like a bunch of loose ends and like have a victorious situation where nothing sort of gets resolved. I get that. But also, you can do that with also having some foresight as to how you will go forward. Like, you can be like, if we get renewed, this thing could happen. Like, if we do get... or you could just say no. You could just say, I'm done telling my story. That's what happened with The Good Place. They could just be like, no, we had our 4 seasons. We could have a 5th, but we're good. We're done. That's what really should have happened. They should have just taken their 3 seasons and been like, no, thank you. But I get it. They were making a lot of money. Why would you say no to money? Because you care about the story more, but they didn't, obviously. So, like, if you were to get a season 4, truly, I don't understand why they didn't just focus on the kids still in high school. I feel like the whole thing about Glee is that it was about the Glee Club. And once they started diverging from the Glee Club, I was like, why is it, what's this about? What's this about? They should have focused then. They should have, instead of, like, dividing the time between the second generation Glee kids and the third generation Glee kids in like half of that and then giving the other half to the kids in New York, they should have given like 80% of the time to the second generation Glee kids, given no third generation Glee kids, and then 20% of the kids in New York. It should have been just sort of like, we should have really phased them out, especially since the first generation like Glee kids were already really well established actors at this time. They could have just like done other work. I feel like that would have been a great opportunity to be like, I just left 3 seasons of a very successful TV show in which I can show that I can sing, act, and dance. I'm going to take some time away and, like, go do other things so that my whole resume isn't just, I was on Glee. Like, how many of these people do you know from other things? You don't, because they stuck with Glee. And I get it, why would you, like, leave the thing that's giving you money? But, like, in the peak of your career, that's when you diversify so that you can continue to have a career. Like, it seems like the perfect opportunity to be like, we're going to write these characters less into the show, and that gives them opportunity to go do other things, because they're very talented. They just did 3 seasons of a very talented full show. And then we'll focus on Sam, Artie, Tina, Brittany, and Blaine. We'll just focus on them, and we'll develop their characters. Because, like, remember when Sam was, like, a character? They gave him such good, like, starting points of season 2, and then just, like, forgot about all of it. He was homeless. Like, that was his thing. That was his, like, social justice moment, is he was homeless. That was, like, their hot topic for him. And then he just wasn't? Like, it was never resolved. Like, what happened with his sister? We never saw his sister again. Like, he had a mom and a sister that he was taking care of. That's, like, I'm pretty sure that's, like, the whole reason he, like, wasn't showing up to, like, Glee rehearsals for a little bit, because he was stripping because he had to pay for his family. It was a wild storyline. But, like, you could have just developed Sam's character a little bit. And you could have, like, developed his relationship with his friends and showed that, like, you know, despite all the hardships outside of the Glee Club, he still has friends. And, like, friendship is magic and blah, 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 blah. You could have developed Tina a little bit. What is Tina's home life? We don't know. What is her life outside of Glee? All we know is that she, like, was goth and faked a stutter and didn't have many friends, but then she did have friends, and then she wasn't a person anymore. And I'm like, what? And she was into Blaine despite we already having the whole storyline with Rachel determining the fact that he's gay. Like, we didn't need to go through that again with Tina, but we did, because that's what she does. Like, Tina could have been a person. Tina could have been a real person with, like, goals and ambitions. Because, like, what? She went to Brown? But, like, for what? For why did she go to Brown? What were her passions? We don't know. Outside of Glee Club, we don't know what her passions were. We didn't really see her after graduation. Like, we saw her briefly a little bit throughout the later seasons, but she didn't go to New York with the rest of them, so like we don't know what happened to her. She went to school. And then she was at the wedding. And then she was like, let's get married, Mike Chang. And he was like, haha, no. Like, maybe we could have developed Tina a little bit and just given her like a full rounded character with wants and goals and ambitions outside of the Glee Club. Because we all know everybody wants to be in Glee, everyone wants to sing their happy songs and have friends and like win competitions. But like outside of that, considering that they're at a high school and have to leave eventually, as seen by the first generation, it would be cool if they had goals. Especially since like they already did the whole storyline with like Finn being like, I don't know what my goals are. Like, it'd be great if they just, like, figured out some goals for everybody. Like, Sam didn't have any goals, but that was sort of, like, his thing. That was okay, because it was different from Finn's thing, where he was like, I don't have any goals, and I don't know what that means. And Sam was like, I don't have any goals, and that's cool with me. Like, because that's their characters. That was good writing! They didn't give that to Tina. Tina didn't get that. I wish Artie had some goals. I feel like he was like sort of like the more techie side of their group, because he did direct West Side Story and then he went to New York to like be a director. But like outside of that, what was he? Like, I don't think we ever saw like a more personal, in-depth look into Artie and his struggles. Like, we know he had struggles because he was in a wheelchair, but outside of that, like, he didn't have anything else. I feel like after a while, that's sort of like resolved. Like, he's like, I feel bad because I'm in this wheelchair and I can't do this and this and that, and these people think of me in this and this way. But then he's like, oh, I have friends and like I'm okay. And then he had no struggles, and I'm like, we need these characters to have some struggles, and their struggles cannot just all be, oh my god, we don't know what to sing at regionals. Like, we need something bigger than this. We need something more personal than this. I just wish that they wrote them a bit better. I wish that they wrote Blaine a bit better. Blaine, I still don't understand what Blaine's character was all about. Because, like, the whole thing was that they were, like, him and Kurt, specifically. Like, because, like, as most people who watch Glee, was a Klaine shipper. Who didn't love Klaine? Who didn't love a good, gay, supportive relationship, except for the fact that they both cheated on each other, I think, multiple times. And broke up twice for no reason, but we're not going to think about that. I feel like Blaine was not really developed outside of his relationship with Kurt. I feel like most of his time he was just like, I like Kurt, and I'm with Kurt, oh, now I'm not with Kurt, and now I'm sad. And that was like all of his thing, and then he was also friends with Sam, and then also in love with Sam, which is like a whole thing that I love the whole thing that, like, he is a straight guy, a vehemently straight guy who is best friends with a gay guy, and that's wonderful, we love that. But also, they had no bi male representation on this show, which I think was whack. They had a perfect opportunity with Spencer in season 6, they just made him gay, and they could have made him bi. They could have developed a whole storyline around that, and around the conflicts and biphobia, but they didn't. Because they're cowards and bad writers. But it's fine, we're not talking about that, we're talking about Sam. No, we're talking about Blaine. Blaine. He didn't have any goals or any development. He was just sort of like written as an extension to Kurt and Kurt's development. Like, Blaine had this whole thing where he was sort of his own person, but the only thing he did with that sort of autonomy was cheat on Kurt. And that was the only time where he sort of had his own goals and ambitions, because Kurt was like, oh, I'm my own person too. I'm gonna go to New York and like live my life. And then Blaine was like, I'm sad, so I'm gonna go cheat on you. And like, it was the dumbest thing. I don't know why we needed to do that, because they sort of started the relationship being like, Kurt was sort of like the unsure, timid one because he had just come out, but Blaine was really confident because he had been out for a while, very comfortable with that. So they had like this weird power dynamic, but then Kurt started to get more comfortable, and then they had this weird power dynamic, and Blaine didn't like that. So Blaine was like, no, I gotta go. And then he ruined it. He went and he ruined it. And then they made that this whole thing where, like, I think it was season 5, where Blaine was just like eating a bunch of stuff and just like making like sort of like destroying his body or whatever, and like that was a whole thing because Blaine just felt like unloved, and it was so dumb. Like, that's not a personal struggle, because that's just sort of his bullshit that he's been on for like the past 2 seasons, where he's just like, I don't feel like I'm the dominant person in this relationship anymore, so I don't feel wanted. I don't feel like Kurt needs me anymore to validate his identity, so I don't like myself. And it was so stupid. Like, like I just want them to have real internal conflicts. Like, Blaine had that whole thing with his brother. Where did that go? His brother never even showed up to his wedding. I get it. It was Matthew Bauer. I get it. Like, they probably couldn't have gotten him for that wedding. But, like, foresight, see? Foresight. It would be a good thing to, like, look forward, to be like, what if this character ends up having a big of personal event and his brother's not there? Because we can't get Matthew Bauer on set. Just foresight. Because, like, it's clear that Blaine had some sort of inferiority complex which probably fed into his relationship with Kurt because of his brother. But, like, that never really went anywhere except for that one episode where they sang Duran Duran and then Somebody That I Used to Know. And, like, all the songs in that episode were amazing. And I would not trade them for the world. But, like, my god, I wish that did something to his character. I wish then he, like, grew and he was like, maybe my issues with my brother are a thing I should work on and I should not project onto the other relationships in my life. But then he didn't. Like, nothing came from that. That's what I want. I want real internal struggles and then growth from that. I feel like I've already had this conversation. What was it about? Shadowhunters? I feel like I had this exact same conversation wanting this from another show that I watch. I think it was Shadowhunters. That's all that I want. I just want the characters that I love to have development, like real arcs where they grow as people and they learn from their mistakes. It truly seems like writing 101 that, you know, a character has a goal and that goal has an obstacle. And through getting through that obstacle, they learn a lesson and they grow as a person so that their goals and the way that they move through life changes. And then you just rinse and repeat. And you just do that for the same characters over and over again. Until you run out of characters or you run out of story. And then you end the show. It seems so simple. But it's just not. Ryan Murphy didn't do that. Sue Sylvester? Iconic. You know, if you watch my videos, that I love Criminal Minds, and now you know from this that I love Glee. So suffice to say, I love Jane Lynch. She's fucking iconic. She played Spencer's mom and Sue Sylvester at the same time, because she's fucking iconic. I love her. She's amazing. And she was also Sam Puckett's mom on iCarly. Icon! Love her. And she could sing. Too powerful. Where's her EGOT? Where is it? Sue Sylvester, I feel like, got the most development out of any of the characters. Because, you know, she was like, I hate the Glee Club. And then she learned to, like, not hate the Glee Club, but still treat them like shit. Like, it was a good way to, like, give a half development. Because she didn't, like, fully change her motives, but she stayed sort of, like, true to herself in the fact that she was like, I still want to be the best, but I've learned to not hate the Glee Club. So, like, through the seasons, she was truly the main reason why the Glee Club stayed together and stayed a club. Like, I don't know how to describe her development, because it was very good in the way that she truly did learn to see the positives in Glee and learn to get past her ego and, like, congratulate Mr. Schuester on his wins and, like, root for the kids. And she was, like, co-director of the Glee Club for a little bit. Like, she, like, grew. But she also still tried to destroy the Glee Club as, like, a way to, like, prove that she is still the best. And I feel like that was a really good balance, to be like, I have my goals of being better than everybody, but I can also still grow and learn that, like, despite me being better than these people are still good. Which, like, sort of in that sense makes her better, because if she's better than people that are good, she's the best. You know? Good development with her. There were some moments, though, that they just sort of, like, regressed her character for reasons I don't understand, because the whole thing was that throughout the season she grew to be more empathetic, especially towards the Glee kids. But then, like, in the whole memorial episode for Finn, she's, like, the one who, like, takes down all of his, like, memorial things because she's like, it's been on for too long. And I'm like, why would they make her do that? Because it wasn't shown to be from, like, a logical standpoint that, like, okay, eventually we do need to stop this, otherwise we just sort of dwell on the sadness and we don't learn to move on. Like, that would be a good reason for her to do that, but it was never sort of, like, said why she was just, like, sort of ruining the memorial that they were all having for him, other than she was like cruel and evil, because that's what Santana told her, so that's what we're meant to believe. And like, I don't like, because then it would be sort of just stepping like a step back for her character, being unempathetic towards the kids that she learned to have compassion for. Like, why did they do that to her? I just wish things stayed consistent, you know, in the development. You're like, oh, you're over here. No, you're back. Okay, you're over here now. It's just, I want some consistency and I want some actual growth. And not just some sort of performative growth, you know? I loved all the guest stars, though. They had so many guest stars. They had Kristen Chenoweth. They had Miss Goop. Miss Gwyneth Paltrow. And so, they could sing. It was great. They had some great moments on Glee. And they truly had some great moments. I, like, in my rewrite that I will eventually do, because I truly believe that I have better ideas of what could have happened. That there are some moments that I definitely want to keep that don't really fit with a normal plot idea, but can definitely be worked in the explanation that Glee is a satire, and so just some things are wacky. But it is clear that Corey's death really did throw a wrench into Glee, and sort of ruined the show. And that's sad, obviously. Corey Monteith was great. But it is just sort of evident that they had a really big plan for the future of Glee that was very Finn heavy. And once they were like, oh, we can't have Finn anymore, the story never really recovered. Because it was just sort of, after that. Because then sort of the next in line for Finn was Sam, and he just sort of filled that space that they had for Finn, and it didn't work considering Sam is not Finn. Like, he was like, oh, I guess I'm gonna date Rachel now, and I guess I'm gonna take over the Glee Club now. I just wish they didn't do that to Sam, because I wanted to say Sam didn't want that, but we don't know what Sam wanted, so I just wish he had more goals and ambitions, and like real ones, because he was like, I want to be a model and I want my face on a bus, and then he did that and he was like, oh, I guess I'm done, I don't have any more goals. Like, it seemed like he wanted to be a model. I feel like that could have been his thing, is like, instead of being like a performer like the rest of them, he just wanted to model. Like, that could have been his thing, like in the same realm as the rest of them, but not in the same world, you know? But I just wish that they developed the characters that they already had. Really, truly, that's all I wanted. I wanted less new characters and more of what we already had. Like, because, like, we got to know, like, a little bit of a bunch of the characters, but not, like, a lot. And then we got to get way more development, I feel like, on characters like Ryder than we did on, like, Puck, which I think is so fucked up. Like, why would they do that? Like, Ryder had so many different storylines. Granted, none of which that went anywhere, because he got nothing. He, like, had the whole thing where he was, like, molested, which was really fucked up, and then everyone was like, ha ha ha, who cares, you're a dude. And then that didn't go anywhere, which was bad. And then he was like, oh, I'm dyslexic, and then that didn't go anywhere. And then he was like, I'm in love with Marley, and then that didn't really go anywhere. And then he was like, oh, I was catfished by Unique, and then that didn't really go anywhere. Like, he had a bunch of, like, false starts of, like, oh, will this change your character? Nope. He was the same guy when he left. But Blake Jenner is apparently a domestic abuser, so what a loser. But you see, like, some of them got to do good things. Like, Melissa, she's Supergirl. Sebastian, Grant Gustin, he's the Flash. What a dude! Like, some of them took the time off of Glee to actually do good things and, like, better their career. Because, like, they are now known as superheroes and not people on Glee. Kind of like what Anna Kendrick and Rami Malek did. Like, they are now known from Pitch Perfect. And I don't know if he's better known from Bohemian Rhapsody or Mr. Robot, but I hope it's Mr. Robot. They're better known from those things and not from Twilight. You know, that's what they could have done. With the first generation Glee kids, they could have all been so famous. Like, some of them are, I think Leah Michelle did Broadway things. I don't know. I don't keep up with Broadway. But I know Naya Rivera hasn't really done anything. She was married, and then I think she also abused her husband. Amber Riley was smart, though. She did that thing. She left. She was like, oh, I'm in the height of my career. I could go do other things and, like, expand my resume. And she did that, and she was smart, and she was successful in it. And then she came back a little bit. That's truly, they should have done the Amber Riley. They should have seen what Amber was doing. They should have been like, huh, that's smart. And they should have just done that for the rest of them. Anyways, I'm rambling at this point. Now is the time I do my short little update about my life because I feel like I need to document it, otherwise I will forget. Not much to really talk about. I've been working every day, haven't had a day off since the 13th. And I won't know until the day this video goes out, if I get any more. I hope I do. Probably won't though. Because the grocery store always needs people. And my other job, just got transferred. We just transferred locations. So that's really stressful right now, having to deal with all that. So that's fun. A lot of work there. They haven't done anything with the house. Still waiting. It's been like over a month at this point. Still don't have a bedroom. It's really fun. I get that there's like a whole virus, but it's also just like, well then don't kick us out of our rooms if you can't do anything, you know? It's just annoying that like they can't get us back in our rooms yet. Because it just like they have this really bad habit, the construction people, of like doing the demos as soon as possible, but then like not waiting to do the demos before they actually have the things that they need to put back in the room, and then just leaving us with a bunch of empty rooms. I'm like, why? You understand that people live here, right? And we can't leave because there's a global pandemic. You see that, correct? So that's been fun and stressful. I've also been in school. School has been so great and so fun and so not stressful at all. Truly, like, 2 full-time lives, because I'm working full-time, basically. Because it's, yeah, full-time is like over 40 hours, yeah. 2 part-time jobs equals 1 full-time job, basically. And school is a full-time job. So I'm oddly busier than ever. You know, all these people are just like, I'm so bored in quarantine. And I'm like, haha, I wish I had the time to be bored. Haven't had the day off in forever. Yeah, I've been doing school. I love that they're online though, because then the expectations are so low. I have no academic honesty whatsoever. I care about getting the grades. I don't care about learning shit. Especially since these are prereqs. This has nothing to do with the actual degree that I need to earn. So, I don't care about being academically honest. I'm going to do what I need to do to get the grade. For legal reasons, this is a joke. Just in case this ends up in my school board, please don't take away the grades that I earned. Definitely earned them. Oh my god, it's so late. I still need to edit this video. I was going to do my hair, but now I'm so tired. But I definitely should do it before... What time do I work? I think I might not work till the afternoon. Maybe I'll take one tomorrow. Okay, I'll do that tomorrow. Yeah, because I don't think I work until 2. Oh, it's updated. Great. Yup, okay, got my schedule and no days off. Ha ha ha. And they're all morning shifts. Oh my god. That shouldn't be legal. A 4.25-hour shift sounds like bullshit. Oh my god, 4-hour shifts. Why do they hate me? Why do they hate me? They hate me because I told them I couldn't work anymore. I'm like, yeah, no, fuck you. I have another job that pays me so much more and makes me do so much less. Great. Only got 21.75 hours. And a whole hour of that's going to be taken away for lunch. So a little over 20 hours. And after taxes, that's going to be nothing. I hate when they do this. My grocery job always fucking schedules me for morning shifts, but my other job always schedules me for evening shifts, so I'm going from evening to mornings. And it's hell! And I hate it. But I'm not gonna say no, because I do need the money. I love my life. I'm gonna stop now, because I do need to edit this video. It's gonna get to 43 minutes, and that's gonna be so long to edit. Maybe I'll just give it a super rough cut, because I don't want to edit it, because I'm exhausted. Because I did have to work today, like I had to work every other day for the rest of my life. Love capitalism. I've been talking for too long. This is too long of a rant about Glee. Let me just make sure that there's nothing else I want to say. Because sometimes I'll just remember things and I'll keep going.